Hi, I'm Steve Campbell, a president of Cornerstone Wealth Advisor Group at Fishersville, Virginia. I've been an investment advisor for 47 years. That's a long time. And, in life and in business, we evolve. And about 2.5 years ago, I was kind of confronted with the aspect of biblical responsible investing. And I had had a look at that back even 20 years before that. I was at a men's Promise Keepers meeting uh, in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I was asked the question, how do we invest our money for our clients? And since this was a Christian conference I was at, the assumption was that I was a Christian, and the answer to that was yes. The question was, do you invest for biblically responsible investing? I never even heard of the subject. In 2001 was when this happened. I said, well, I do business with a mutual fund that does not invest in alcohol, tobacco, or the military. And I was told that day that that particular mutual fund was the largest promoter of pornography in America because they owned all the pay-per-view movies in hotels. Well, that was very distressing. However, in 2001, the cost of doing business in biblically responsible investing was just off the charts. There was not a lot of assets under management, and in our business, one of the things we try to do is invest our clients' money for the least cost on an ongoing basis. So I basically ignored that challenge, and 20 years later, I was confronted with my own investment. I had an investment in a company that unknowingly derived 20% of their profits from abortion. And that was something that was just a wake-up call for me. And I made not only an immediate change in my own investment portfolio, but we then made a commitment for our clients, if they are Christians and adhering to biblical values, biblically responsible investing, we took the plunge. And we don't require our clients to invest in biblically responsible funds, but if you're a Christian, we feel like at least we need to talk about it. And what that means is simply avoiding companies that derive profits from abortion, pornography, and pornography has become the sex slave industry, anti-family, entertainment, promoting an alternative lifestyle, let's just call it that. And that's associated too with the LGBT community and now the transgender movement in the United States. It also avoids investing in companies that derive profits from gambling, alcohol, tobacco, marijuana. And it took us a while to make those decisions. And then we took another 6 months to investigate and do our research. And we have found companies, mutual fund companies that offer mutual funds and ETFs, exchange-traded funds, that do a really good job of screening out these companies. But I want to talk about a personal challenge that I have for myself and where this really hits home. I think every investor, if they invest money, want to make as much money as they can. And I'm no different. I want to make as much money. Whether I ever use that money for retirement, I have no plans to retire. My plan is to work until I die because I love what I do, and it allows me to be generous to Christian ministries. So my motivation is still to make. I'm a competitor. I want to make as much money as I can, and I'm going to talk about a challenge, a struggle that I've had over the last 6 months. So what do you do when you see an investment as a professing Christian, and hopefully one is trying to do this every day? Philippians 2:12 says that we are to work out our salvation with fear and trembling, which I always laugh at because Jesus is the one that worked out our salvation at Calvary. But I believe that scripture says for a man to know to do right and not do it, for him it is sin. And for me, this issue of biblically responsible investing is something I take very seriously. So there's a company that I want to invest in. I believe that over the next 5 years, the investment will probably multiply 5 times where it is today. It's an electric car company, by the way, and I won't name the name, but you'll probably figure out who it is. I'm a big fan of the owner of that company. He has done some good things politically for President Trump this year. However, when I tried to screen that company for biblically responsible investing, almost every area that they were screened in, they check the mark for goodness, but one area, they pay for abortions for their employees to go out of state. So on one hand, now I have a dilemma. I could invest in this company, and I believe that I could potentially quadruple my investment over the next 5 years, over the next 3 years, maybe even. But on the other hand, does that investment fit my faith? And so far, I don't think God's let me invest in that company. And so I think that that is something for me and for our clients. We want to be, if you say that you want to have your portfolio be biblically responsible, I think that statement of faith is saying, God, I'm going to turn my investment portfolio over to you. And if I make less, I'm okay with making less, but I don't want to make less. And so I'm asking, Father, for you to bless my investment portfolio as I am obedient to what I believe is right for me. It may not be right for you, but it's for me to invest in a company that pays for abortions for their employees out of state. I have a hard time with that. But it's also hard. It's also hard to give up those potential gains. And so in the end, I have not been able to pull the trigger and invest. Maybe after this is published, I'll have now even more accountability. I don't want to go against what I believe. And I do believe that I believe that when we tithe, we enter into a partnership with God. And when we tithe, we're saying, God, you are my Jehovah Jireh, my provider. And I, in faith, will tithe of my income, and I am taking you at your word. In Malachi, God said to test him in this, that if we tithe, that he will bless us so much that we might have to build more barns to put our investments in and our gains in. But I also think about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were about to be burned to the crisp because they would not bow down to Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar said, I'm turning the furnace up 7 times the temperature. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said to King Nebuchadnezzar, we believe our God will protect us, but even if he doesn't, King Nebuchadnezzar, we are going to honor God. And as a Christian who wants to honor God, this issue of, do I invest in a company that I know for me is not honoring God, and then leaving my investment results up to God? Doesn't have to be easy to do the right thing. But if we're being transformed into the likeness of God, like tithing, I believe God is saying, Steve, if you honor me with your investments, I'll be sure you'll be okay. But even if I don't make as much money, I'm going to be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I will still honor God. We work hard at trying to pick good investments for our clients, and we have found good companies that are biblically responsible, yet have made our clients a lot of money. If you are a Christian and you see this and you have never even thought about biblically responsible investing, we'd love to have a conversation with you every Saturday morning. In fact, this Saturday, I don't know if you'll get this message on Facebook before our radio show this week, but that's what we're going to talk about. So what I'm going to talk about this week is this struggle that I'm having internally. Do I honor God, or do I invest in a company that might make me more money, but is for me, it's sin. So feel free to check our radio show out each week on WSVA in Harrisonburg, Virginia, 550 AM, 92.1 FM. And you can also go to rocktown.com to listen to our podcast each week, or you can go to our website, cswadvisors.org, and on our website we have our shows downloaded on that. We'd love to talk to you. We're in Fishersville, and especially if you've never considered biblically responsible investing. I do believe this. What the companies that we invest in told us 3 years ago, that we don't have to give up anything to have investment success. And we're finding that is the case, it's interesting. There are over 12,000 companies in the United States that you can invest in publicly traded companies. And with most of the companies that we talk to that are taking out the companies that are objectionable, they're only saying no to about 800 companies in the United States out of 12,000. So there's still 11,200 companies in the United States that you can invest in and honor God with your money. So with that, feel free to call us, 540-942-1703, or you can, again, visit us at cswadvisors.org, and we'd love to talk to you.
Content in this material is for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. The opinions expressed in this material do not necessarily reflect the views of LPL Financial.